it's amazing the way the competition works itself out. I know the format is going to be changing again, but like, who would have thought it? Leinster versus Ulster, those losing bonus points and try bonus points that Ulster ended up getting against La Rochelle in the Aviva Stadium, and the frozen pitch was in Belfast, and everybody was like, "Oh, what are you doing, John Cooney, taking 3 points? At the end of the game to get 2 points out of the match." Well, they get into the skin of their teeth, didn't they, by 1 point ahead of Claremont in their pool, and now they find themselves in the biggest, well, arguably the biggest, but I would say it's the biggest game of the quarterfinals, the way the draw has been made. Over 50,000 people are going to be in the Aviva. Lots of travelling support for Ulster. Ulster have good memories and of nightmares as well, because we all know that Jacob Stockdale dropped over the line, a few years ago in a quarter final. They were winning that game, a Ross Byrne last minute penalty to secure the victory for Leinster. But Ulster they've had reasonable success out of the last 4 games. They've won 2, lost 2. But if you go before that, out of the last 10 games, they've still only won 2 and lost 8. So like it's a bit of a hill to climb. And you look at the way the odds are stacked up, and like Edinburgh are 80-1 to win the competition, and like the Sharks are 20-1. You have Sarries 8-1, and then all of a sudden you have Ulster 100-1 to win the competition. And the reason for that is because they're playing against the favourites for the competition, who are Leinster at 10-11 to win it outright. So the bookies don't see Ulster getting a win. I think after their performance at the weekend against the Bulls showed, with one-out runners, showing a bit of power, what you can achieve and try and break down that Ulster defence just by keeping it very, very simple. I think Leinster will take a lot of confidence out of that, and maybe there'll be a few access points for Leinster during the game, and if they can overpower this Ulster side and take away some key areas that I might touch on, it's going to be a hard day. And we're under no illusions here. I think, Donny, one thing that we need to talk about in this game is that this is a free hit for Ulster. Like, this is a completely free hit. They find themselves scrambling for points in the last couple of games of the Champions Cup group games. They got in, and now they find themselves against who everybody's backing to win the competition. But why not just go out and give it your best shot? And they know they have the capabilities. They have an incredible maul that are scoring tries for fun. Tom Stewart, a hat trick at the weekend, 2 of those directly off a maul. They probably have the best maul, or one of the best mauls in European rugby. And if they can keep it tight and keep it nip and tuck, and even the first half, like Ireland played against England, that would be ideal for Ulster, just keeping it really cagey and hoping for a few mistakes. And of course, there's going to be no Johnny Sexton pulling the strings for Leinster. So be really interesting to see when the team sheets come out. But I give Ulster a chance, but it's a slim one. I think Ross Byrne his game has always been there. Many people have questioned it. Maybe not myself, but a lot of other pundits, analysts, people in the media have said that Ross Byrne isn't a big game player, and calling for Harry Byrne, he's the better brother and all this. And you have Frawley there, who unfortunately hasn't had that much game time because of certain injuries. And now you have the under-20 star Prendergast coming through, and there's so much strength and depth. But one thing's for sure, Johnny Sexton is the best out half in Leinster and in Ireland, and he's not going to be playing. And Leinster have struggled in certain games. You even go back to the Bulls game in the URC semi-final last season, where they get beaten at home in the RDS. Sexton come on for the last 10 or 15 minutes of that match, trying to rescue it, and the damage was already done. So Ross Byrne's going to play a pivotal role in trying to get his team the victory at the weekend. And it's not just this weekend, it's the next 6-8 weekends that are going to be a lot of knockout rugby. So I think we'll see what he's made of. But I think last point on Ross Byrne, I think this is brilliant for him leading towards a Rugby World Cup, getting game time, getting the exposure, building on the confidence that he's already received over the last couple of months. And I really hope it goes well for him. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's some people might say he's too casual, but I kind of like that about him. He's a prolific goal kicker. He's got the best percentage in world rugby. He's a steady guy to have calling the shots. So fair play to him, and hopefully he doesn't play too well on Saturday. I think the exciting thing for a lot of these Leinster players in particular is they're playing at the Aviva Stadium, where they had such good memories a couple of weeks ago. They've had such good memories over the last couple of years. It's it's a ground and a stadium, a huge pitch, a massive audience on television and the broadcasters, over 50,000 crowd. If you can't get yourself up for a game like this, forget about it. And I think these Leinster guys will be absolutely buzzing this week in training, really up for it. And when you look at the potential team that they could put out, like Tag Furlong, Shane, Porter, James Ryan in the second row, Josh van der Fleer, Keelan Doris. They might throw somebody like Scott Penny in there, or Max Deegan, or Reece Ruddock. So many good options. Sorry, I left out Jack Conan. So like there's Gibson Park to come back, and in the back three is Hugo Keenan and James Law. I know I'm just name dropping here, but it really is an incredible squad of players that they're able to pick from. I think Leo Cullen won't take any chances here. I think he's going to go full strength, full bore, not putting any of these guys on the bench just because they've had maybe an overindulged last 10 days. He'll be going flat out and trying to get off to a good start, and making sure that they don't give Ulster a sniff, and we'll see what happens. If there's one team that can go down to Durban and cause a shock, I think it would be Munster. It's people talk about the bounce back ability of good teams when they suffer defeat. I wouldn't say it was an embarrassing defeat at home to Glasgow. I think there were periods in that first half where they'd be really disappointed with. But credit had to go to Glasgow. They played sublime rugby, free flowing. Everybody was more than capable of throwing that pass or offload and getting their hands on the ball and oozing confidence. It was a joy to watch, and it almost felt like Munster's defence was really comfortable. And then all of a sudden, bang, there was just a small half bust, and then it was just scrambled defence by Munster and clinical finishing by Glasgow. They're a team, I think it's went 8 or 9 unbeaten across all competitions. Glasgow, so they're definitely a side. It's potentially one of the picks to go on and win the Challenge Cup. And we'll wait and see how their match goes at the weekend. I think they're playing Dragons at home, but Munster have got to bounce back. They will have a couple of guys that won't be available, but they've also got a lot of experience. The only thing, and it's been a real negative for Munster this season, is how poor their set piece has been, specifically their scrum. And they've been taken to the cleaners a couple of times. And you can be sure this Shark side, Mbanambi, Etzebeth in the second row, Sia Khaleesi, these guys leading the charge. They have a lot of muscle, a lot of grunt, a lot of weight up front. The weather conditions at the minute, 26 degrees, some showers, so the ball could be wet. Mix in a bit of humidity. There might be a lot of scrums out down in Durban, so we'll wait and see how that plays out. But the Sharks are obviously favourites. They'll be absolutely hopping. Going down to the Scarlets last weekend in the URC, that was an unexpected result, and they'll be a bit like Munster looking to bounce back. And I think it'll be good for the Heineken Champions Cup, because it's not in your if the Sharks made it through and got to a semi-final. I think it'd be brilliant. So we'll wait and see how it pans out, but don't write off this Munster side. They've been written off many times before, and they seem to spring up with a few shocks. I don't think they're title contenders for this year's Champions Cup, but it's going to be an incredible game this weekend. Munster heading down to Durban to take on the Sharks.